In today's video, I'm sharing with you this incredible chicken pad thai recipe with a perfect balance between sweet, sour and salty. Without a doubt, this is the best chicken pad thai I've ever made. To get started, I'm going to soak some rice noodles in cold water. I have these Thai Chantaboon style noodles, often referred to on the packet as pad Thai noodles. They're a similar size and shape to linguine. I'm going to soak these in cold water for around 2 hours. If you haven't got this much time, then you can soak them in warm, not hot, water for around 6 to 10 minutes. Just be aware that this method is much easier to end up with an over-soaked, mushy noodle. Let's prepare the rest of the ingredients for this pad thai. Firstly, the pad thai sauce, which consists of tamarind, palm sugar, white sugar, and fish sauce. To prepare the tamarind, an essential ingredient in this dish, I'm making the paste from scratch today using the pod. You can buy jars of puree, sometimes known as tamarind water. They are a lot more convenient, but they do lack in intensity of flavour a little. Just peel off the outer shells and remove the veins from the pods, then soak them in boiling water for 1 hour. It's important to just cover the tamarind pods with water, as we don't want to end up with something that's too watery in the end. After 1 hour of soaking, separate the pods from the water using a strainer or even a colander, and using a spoon push the pods through until you have just the hard stones and any other fibrous parts of the fruit remaining. Mix the paste and water together until you have a smooth puree like this. If you can get tamarind seeds, I highly recommend taking the extra time to do this. The flavour is incredible. Next, the palm sugar, another essential component of this dish. Easily sourced from most Asian grocery stores or online. If you really can't find it, then I would say sub in coconut sugar or even muscovado sugar, but palm sugar really gives that authentic flavour. The best and easiest way to prepare this is to grate it on a box grater. We only need 2 tablespoons worth. Place that into a small saucepan with 2 tablespoons of white sugar, 4 tablespoons of fish sauce, and 2 tablespoons of your tamarind puree. Place that saucepan onto your stovetop and onto a low heat and simmer it for 1 to 2 minutes until the sugars have dissolved. Then just place it into a dish to cool down for later, and that's our pad thai sauce. For the vegetable parts of this dish, we will be using shallots, daikon and spring onions. Daikons are usually huge. I was lucky enough to find these smaller ones, and if it's something you don't use regularly, then they can be a bit of a challenge to consume. If that's the case for you, then you could sub in small salad style radishes like these, or leave it out completely. To prepare this daikon, just peel it, then slice it into little half moons around the thickness of a penny, toss with a little salt and leave it to sit. For the shallots, mine are on the larger side, but I'll leave a weight to use down in the description if yours are smaller. To prepare these, just a medium slice, not too thin. Then just add a pinch of salt and give them a good mix around 15 minutes before you start cooking. For the spring onions, aka scallions, aka green onions, these guys definitely win the award for having the most names without a doubt. To prepare them, just separate the green and white parts of the onion. We'll only be using the green part. Give them a really good wash. Spring onions tend to hide grit and dirt in all the crevices. Then just slice each piece in half lengthways, and I used around 4 onions per portion. The proteins I'm using today are chicken breast and, to keep it authentic, dried prawns. For these, you just want to rinse them under cold water for a few moments. Usually these are quite small, but the only ones I could find this week are quite big. So I'm just going to cut these in half or into thirds so they get lost in between the noodles a bit more. The chicken breast I have here is an average size skin off breast. This is enough to feed 2 people. Slice it in half so it's flatter and more even, then cut it into small strips. Chicken thigh would also work well. Lastly, as a garnish, we're going to use some peanuts. These bring a much needed crunchy texture to the dish. Just simply toast some unsalted peanuts in a pan or in the oven, let them cool, then either pulse them in a food processor or crush them in a mortar and pestle like this. In the end, you want a reasonably fine texture so they get lost in amongst the noodles. Once you have everything prepared, place it all onto a tray. The only way you can achieve the best results with a stir-fry style dish is to have everything prepared on a tray, as the cooking process is very quick. The only other ingredients needed are a pinch or a 1/4 teaspoon of chilli powder, 2 eggs, a couple of handfuls of fresh bean sprouts, and of course the soaked noodles that I have just drained. They have fully softened but are very al dente. For me, this took 1 hour and 45 minutes of soaking in cold water. Weights and volumes for all the ingredients are down in the description box below. To cook this pad thai, place a wok onto your stovetop and turn it onto a medium-high heat. Let that heat for at least 1 minute. We need it to be evenly hot. I find the hardest thing about wok cooking at home is keeping enough heat in the wok. This prevents the food from sticking and gives a depth in flavour. Add around a teaspoon of high smoke point neutral tasting oil, move it around to get it coating the sides of the wok, and add in the slices of chicken. Very importantly, leave them to sit and form a crust before moving them. It should take around 1 to 2 minutes, but test one piece with your spoon. If it's free from the pan, then you know you're good. If it's stuck, leave it to fry for a bit longer. Next, add in the shallots. Fry for 1 to 2 minutes until they start to soften slightly. Tossing them in a little salt really helps them not to burn at this stage. Then add in the eggs and turn down the heat to medium-low and stir to start scrambling the egg. After 30 seconds of stirring, add in the dried prawns and the slices of daikon. Stir fry for another 30 seconds and add in the noodles. Turn the heat back up to high. If anything looks like it's sticking at this stage, then add a splash more oil. Stir fry the noodles for 1 to 2 minutes until they start to get a little colour and look shiny. Now add in the sauce and the chilli powder and cook for another minute while stirring. Notice how I've only been stirring with my spoon and not lifting the wok and tossing like you would see most people doing when cooking in a wok. This is to keep the heat in the wok. As most of us don't have big wok burners on our stoves, when you take the wok off the heat, it can really take a long time to come back up to heat. By that time, your chicken is overcooked and dry, but your noodles are still raw. Finally, add in the spring onion and bean sprouts. At this stage, it's okay to do a bit of a pan toss, as we have done all the heavy frying and it really helps to get everything mixed together. Stir fry for another 30 seconds or until the onions and bean sprouts have wilted. And finally, taste for seasoning. It should be perfectly balanced between sweet, sour and salty. To plate this iconic dish, just simply pile the noodles onto a plate, top with some of the crushed peanuts, and I like to have a little pile on the side of the plate as well. Add some more fresh bean sprouts to the top, and a few more slices of spring onion for a pop of colour and freshness, and of course, a wedge of fresh lime. This dish smells incredible, looks incredible, and of course it tastes incredible. That perfect balance between sweet, sour and salty, using the few authentic ingredients like tamarind and palm sugar, really puts this dish onto another level. Go make it, you won't regret it. If you love Southeast Asian food, then you have to go check out this video, and I'll see you next time.